Hi guys, and welcome to the last video on mounting the rifle scope. So far we've glued in the base, Loctited down the screws. We've also bedded the scope to the scope rings themselves for stress-free and also for 100% contact. And what we're going to be doing today is leveling the crosshairs to the center line of the bore. Alright. Now traditional methods are usually to go by eye, where you put the rifle itself into some sandbags, then you look through the scope and you adjust the crosshairs to where they look about right. Now because your head is canted off to one side or the other, this presents a little bit of an optical illusion. So what you think is perfectly straight may or may not be straight. Another way that people are starting to use now is to use the level system, or the multiple level system, where you buy from a certain company a set of levels. One goes on the top of the turret cap here, and one goes into the action here, and it butts up against the guide rails on the inside. And then you adjust both until they're level with each other and tighten them down. Now a friend of mine has actually got these, and I have to say the quality isn't great, and on one of them, the one that fits into the action, on the little housing itself for the bubble level, there was a little burr or a little imperfection of plastic underneath, which was actually tilting the level. So if you hadn't have noticed that, it would have been in trouble. Now the reason that we want to get the crosshairs precise in line with the bore, especially for long range shooting, is if they're off to the left or to the right, your shots are going to start to be off to the left or to the right. Now if you shoot between 1 and 300 yards, or you shoot in thick forest, none of this really makes much of a big difference. As long as they are as in line as you can get by eye, you should be okay. But if, like me, you want to extend the ranges and you want to push the limitations of your cartridge for target shooting or hunting applications, as level as you can is what we want to achieve. And of course, it doesn't matter how level your crosshairs are, if you're not holding the rifle level, it's not going to make much difference. So what you'll need to get is either buy or make, like I have done here, one of these little anti-cant devices, and once everything's all leveled off, attach this to a rifle, and whenever you make a shot, especially at long ranges, make sure that that bubble level is perfectly in the center, and you'll know then at the long ranges, if you miss, you've either not estimated the rim correctly, you've either pulled the shot, done something wrong, it's you, and it's not the scope itself. So that is why we want it nice and level. Another method that's gaining popularity, especially on the tactical forums and long range shooting forums, is if you have a one-piece base like I have here, or a Picatinny rail rather, use feeler gauges to put underneath that fits in between the top flat surface of the base and the bottom flat surface of the turret housing, and you put that in there, align them up using the feeler gauges, and then tighten them down. Now you are trusting that the base has been machined perfectly, and then the mounts, or the screw holes rather, for the base itself, if they're off, the base is going to be off, and then you're leveling it to the base, your reticle is going to be off. Now if like me you have a Remington 700, you know that sometimes the action screws on the top for the base aren't perfectly in line. If you don't believe me, if you get two-piece bases, you put one at the front, one at the back, and level the rear portion with a good spirit level until it's perfect. Then transfer it to the front and have a look. And a few times, 9 times out of 10 I'd say, you're going to notice there's a slight difference. So just bear that in mind. Now I prefer, if I can, to level off the action itself. What I usually do is the indoor method, as I call it. I put the action in a vise or a clamp such as this. If you are using a vise on a table, make sure it's a nice sturdy vise. So also put some scrap leather between the vise and the action so you don't mar the action. But I usually use this, level the base, the flat end of the base. If you don't have a flat base receiver, level off the bottom of the recoil lug. So level the action, Put a flashlight, I usually tape it on there with electrical tape to project through the scope onto the wall a few feet away, and then use the adjustment on the ocular lens, which usually fine-tunes the focus of the crosshairs, so that the crosshairs are projecting perfectly sharp onto the wall. Then what I do is grab some tape such as this, put it on the wall, and draw several lines using a spirit level. And then what I do is turn the flashlight back on and adjust the reticle so it's perfectly in line with the lines that I've drawn up on the wall, or more accurately on the tape on the wall, otherwise my girlfriend will kill me. And then just double check that the action is still straight. If it's clamped into a vise nice and sturdy, then you should be okay. But that's how I usually do it. Now, a friend of mine recommended another method. I don't know whether he made it up or he got it from somewhere else, or even how he does this, because he has a round bottom receiver. But if you have a flat base receiver like mine, it becomes quite easy. What I'm going to do is just change over the turret caps, because this one's got an emblem on there and it's not quite flat. What I'm going to do is get a set square like this. I'm going to put it on the bottom of the base, okay, or the receiver where it's flat, and then I'm just going to pull it on and just butt it up against there. Okay. Now, if you haven't got anything light coloured behind it, grab a piece of paper, put it behind there, have a look, see if there's any gaps. And I know there isn't, because I've just done this a moment ago. And keep it held there. Finger adjust down the screws for the rings. Keep it on there, and then tighten them down to your regular torque settings. If you have a screwdriver with some torque settings, go by the manufacturer's recommendations. But I've tightened these down with a little bit of Loctite already, and you can still see it is perfectly square on there. Okay, it's a lot easier to do this with a flat base receiver, and also with turret caps which were nice and wide and nice and flat like this. I'm not sure how well it would work on turret caps such as this, because you haven't got much of a surface area to go by. But I would recommend double checking that the top or the side turret cap is actually in line with the vertical portion of the crosshair. Okay, and the way to do that is to put a level on the side or on the top, which is probably easier, that you know is accurate, and then put a plumb line out a set distance away, or even use the flashlight method and project it onto the wall, and just measure that the manufacturer, when making the scope, has perfectly aligned the crosshairs with the turret caps, which to them is probably not a big deal. All they want is to make sure that everything works properly. So double check that your caps are in line with the reticle, and then you can use this method. Otherwise, it's not going to do you much good. But in this case, a high quality scope, you shouldn't have too much of a problem. Now, if you don't have the turret caps like these, and you just have an exposed target turret like that, just make sure there's no wobble in it, and also double check again that it's in line with the reticle. Otherwise, this method isn't going to work. Alright, but probably the easiest way to do this is just put it in a vise, level the action, put a plumb line a set distance away, level the scope to that, and then tighten it down. And that's probably one of the easier ways. But if your scope doesn't focus down too far, mine focuses down to what, 40 or 50 yards, and that's how far away you're going to have the plumb line. So it does make it a little bit more difficult. But I'm trying this method out. It was recommended to me, and so far it works pretty good. So that's what I'm going to stick with. That's pretty much it. I may make a few videos after this, and see how we go at range, and try different shooting methods and all different things. But for now, these are the videos that I've made with regards to mounting the scope, and I hope you enjoy them. Thanks for watching. Take care.